Today is Tuesday. It is the 28th. Are you okay?
Yes.
Okay. It's the 28th of the month of October, and it is 2014 is the year, if you're keeping up with that sort of thing. This is Wayne Goldsboro Television. Hello there. I'm Wayne Alley.
And I'm Kim Best. Good Tuesday morning.
Okay. You need some water or something? No. Okay. Yeah.
That's the way it happens. You know, when the camera starts to roll, you always need to cough.
Everything's fine up to that point.
That's right.
But after that,
That's the way it goes.
the way it goes. All right. Right in the middle, still in the middle of our early voting.
Election, that's
A
right.
one-stop voting still underway. And if you want to vote early, then you can go to WayneVotesEarly.com. WayneVotesEarly.com, and that's the county's voting Board of Elections voting website, and you can get all your information right there. Where you can vote, the times you can vote, and there was some concern about the fewer number of days this election cycle of early voting, but actually you're able to vote. There are longer hours
Yeah,
than were allowed during the last election cycle. So 11 o'clock until 7 o'clock, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. So if you get off of work at 5 o'clock, you can still have plenty of time to vote. And then, even then,
Yeah, there's like Saturday and Sunday voting on some days.
This Saturday will be the last day. November 1st will be the last day, but that's a Saturday. And if you can't get there during the week, then between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. you can vote early at any of the 5 locations. Now, there have been some rule changes that are in effect for this particular midterm election, and you can get that information online at WayneVotesEarly.com.
That's a nice new website.
It
And
really
it's
is.
convenient, and it gives a tremendous amount of helpful information.
Yes, indeed. Our county Board of Elections director over there, that's Rosemary Blizzard, has done a great job. She and her staff doing a great job putting all this together. And she is encouraging you to call if you have questions. If you have any questions at all, please call.
Now, Wayne, do you have to have a photo ID to vote?
You do not have to have a photo ID this time.
Okay.
That doesn't go into effect until 2016. So this time, they will ask you, however, if you have a voter, an ID, if you have an ID of any kind. If you do not have an ID, you can still vote as long as you can, of course, as long as you're
Verify who you
registered,
are.
and you can verify who you are through registration. You have to be a registered voter, and you cannot. There's no same-day registration this time for this election. But they'll ask you if you have a valid ID. If you do not have a valid ID, you can get one free of charge at the local Highway Patrol office at the Department of Transportation office on Highway 70 here in Goldsboro. Doesn't cost you anything. Just go, tell them you want an ID, a valid ID, and they will fix you right up.
Very good.
All right.
A couple things coming up.
What's coming up?
The Paramount has 2 things coming up, November the 1st and then November the 2nd. On the 1st, Saturday night, they're having a part of their movie series. They're having the movie Hocus Pocus,
Oh,
which is a cute little movie.
Okay.
It's $5.
really? That's it?
$5 is the entire cost.
Wow.
And it's free for people or children ages 12 and under. This is the one and only time
Just missed it.
during their, no,
Yeah.
you're 13.
I'm only 13.
During their movie series that they allow popcorn and drinks in the Paramount Theater.
Unreal.
So they make
That's
it, you know, as much as a regular movie experience
Yeah.
as possible. So on our great big screen at the Paramount Theater, if you're interested, Hocus Pocus, $5, Saturday, November the 1st, 7 p.m. And then Sunday, November the 2nd, is the one and only Miss Jeannie Robertson. She is a comedian that is fabulous. I've heard her twice. She is full of interesting stories. She is a very stately lady. She's very tall. You definitely notice her when she walks in a room, not just because of the height, but also she is just full of eluding energy, and she has a great aura about her.
Yeah.
But if you've never heard her live on the stage, you are missing out. And there's only a few seats left. Usually her shows sell out every year.
You know, there's people who walk into a room who just are in command.
Oh, she is one of them.
Yeah, and she is. She's just there.
She certainly is.
All right. Today, October the 28th, an emblem of Franco-American unity, the Statue of Liberty, presented to the American people by the French and unveiled this day, 1886.
Oh, wow.
1886. Statue of Liberty at Bedloes Island, New York Harbor, is the work of French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, who called it Liberty Enlightening the World. Bartholdi was present at the dedication, presided over by U.S. President Grover Cleveland this day, 1886.
Wow. That is such a a staple that we all look forward to seeing on a regular basis, or as
Yes,
often as we
indeed.
can get to New York, and it just means so much to us.
Lady Liberty.
So thank you, thank you.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Wayne, I believe it's time to go to our interviews.
Let's do it. Our guest is new to the Wayne County area, kind of. We have a new Emergency Management Services Director, and his name is Jeremy Hill. Jeremy, hi.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm glad you're here.
Glad to be here, sir.
And first of all, let's start out. I want to ask you about Jeremy Hill. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, I was born in Logan, West Virginia in '78, and I moved to the North Carolina area in 1998, and I moved over to Kinston. I originally got my EMT in 1996, my senior year of high school.
Wow.
So I've really been in EMS all my adult life. It's really been a profession that I've chose and love and enjoy doing every day.
You know, it takes a special person to do what you do. I think it does anyway. Not everybody can do what you do.
Well, I agree with that. I think that becoming a paramedic is definitely a task that takes a lot of responsibility and a lot of commitment from the individual. And we have a great staff to work with here at Wayne County.
Yes, indeed you do. Well, we want to talk about the emergency management, rather emergency services medical. All right, what do you call this again?
It's Emergency Medical Services.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
EMS.
EMS. We want to talk about the EMS office there, which actually falls under the umbrella of the OES, which is the Office of Emergency Services.
That's correct.
Which has several areas. But EMS is Emergency Medical Services. You're the manager there.
That's correct.
We have an EMS training officer. Who is that?
Mr. Brian Smith.
Brian Smith. And of course the operations supervisor is?
Joseph Sutton.
You also have administrative assistant. Who is that?
That's right. Sandra Blizzard and Miss Catherine.
And Miss Catherine. Now we have several QRV paramedics. QRV is a what?
QRV stands for Quick Response Vehicle.
Okay.
The community may see them as like a Ford Expedition SUV style. It has everything that the ambulance has, minus the stretcher. And it's designed to quickly deploy to an emergency and be able to provide all of the care, but not be able to transport the patient. It will be essentially a vehicle where the patient or the paramedic can respond, have all of his or her equipment, and be able to render aid until the ambulance arrives, stabilize the patient, and then accompany the patient to the hospital if the
Wow.
need. If
You
the
know,
need
that
arises.
reminds me, and I'm a fan of the 70s program Emergency.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of that.
It absolutely. And emergency is kind of where we have to go back and give our accolades to. Emergency really brought EMS to the forefront of the average citizen. And North Carolina has a very rich history of EMS. In fact, some of the first paramedics in the country on the East Coast were in Haywood County, North Carolina, which is a western county
Well,
out in
way up
North
in the
Carolina.
mountains,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So we actually are very, very fortunate in the state of North Carolina to have such progressive paramedic service that we do have. And we are very proud of that fact, and we have some great paramedics here within the Wayne County EMS system.
That indeed we do. Now
Yep.
these guys have to go through extensive training to become paramedics.
Yes, sir.
Extensive.
That is correct.
I tell you, there's and I've been in an accident, and probably more than one or two, but there's nothing sweeter to the ear to hear is a siren when you are lying in the middle of the road, injured or hurt,
Sure.
and you know help is on the way.
And that's a great point. When an individual sustains an injury or an illness, it is comforting to know that when they dial 911, the phone's going to be answered by a dispatcher who's going to ask, the criteria, and they play a very vital role in our EMS system because they're getting important information from the patient, so that when we are arriving, while we're driving to the scene, we're getting updates from our dispatchers. So the dispatchers play a tremendous role, and they have a very complex job as well. And when we arrive, we've kind of prepped ourselves mentally for what to expect when we get there.
Yeah. What are some of the? Okay, well, let me just take a moment, and I don't want to sound negative, but what are some of the negatives you hear about EMS that are just that people need to understand a little better?
Well, I think that it's really not a negative. It may just be a lack of information that they may not have full understanding of. I think everyone understands that in an emergency you need a law enforcement officer, you need a firefighter, and you need a paramedic and EMT. Just like you need a dispatcher to answer that call.
Right.
So we're all brothers and sisters in emergency services. We all work hand in hand, and we are essentially working together to benefit the individual who's having the crisis or the illness.
Okay, so once the 911 receives a call,
Yes, sir.
from someone in need of help, that call goes directly to our radio system and is dispatched to...
Well, it goes to what's called a PSAP, a Public Safety Answering Point, and that's our 911 center.
Okay.
And that's right here in Wayne County, right here in downtown Goldsboro. When you dial 911 inside the county of Wayne, either on a cell phone or a regular traditional phone, that phone rings to the dispatcher. The trained telecommunicator answers it, determines who's needed, whether it be an ambulance, police officer, firefighter, or all of the above, and then dispatches the appropriate resources. So they have to be a real critical thinker just like we do, and they have to go through the process and determine what's needed and calm the caller and be able to get information from the caller who's maybe at a frightened time or at a chaotic time, and they've got to bring calm to the chaos and get the information.
What are some of the mistakes made by callers or people who are in need of help?
Oh, that's a great point. If you are experiencing an emergency, one of the greatest things that you can do is A, remain calm, quickly get that phone call made to 911, and know your location. That's critical. Don't assume that we're going to know right where you're at. Know your location and be specific to any type of description you can give us. I'm at the corner of John and Ash, downtown Goldsboro. I mean, just give some examples so that when the caller is, or excuse me, when the dispatcher is receiving the call, he or she knows where to send us.
What about if we're out in the county, out in the field somewhere, and you don't know exactly where you are, perhaps?
Well,
let's say it's the middle of the night and I've
Sure.
had an accident and I'm not sure where I am.
Well, you know, thankfully there are some layers of protection with the E911 system to get some geographical locations, but it's always best to try to be aware of where you're at in the need of an emergency and give descriptions of the last road you recall driving down or the environment that you last seen or a company or a business that you last remember going by. That's very beneficial to help us.
I'm glad you mentioned E911.
Yes, sir.
Now, there's a lot of people who are concerned about that because here in this technology that we're experiencing now is moving and growing and changing quickly. And there was a time that people were concerned about not being able to call 911 or get help from 911 with a cell phone or wireless connection. Is that how does that work now?
Well, I'm happy to report that Wayne County is using an E911 system, so the wireless carriers are all communicating that vital information to the dispatch center, and that's a great thing for the citizens of Wayne to have that capability for E911.
Yes, it is. It certainly is. So, what would you? What are your plans? Do you have plans? Do you have a plan laid out for the next? X amount of time?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing that I've done is try to learn the players of the system in Wayne County, learn the commissioners, learn Mr. Wood, the county manager.
Hey, good luck with that.
Yeah. And they're great people, and they've been very good to me, and have been very welcoming, and everyone's kind of been very hospitable and given me good information to get me oriented to the area. The emphasis on my end has been trying to identify all of our staff, get out and meet the staff members that work for Wayne County EMS, and learn our rules and regulations that we already have in place.
Right.
So that's kind of been my goal. I've worked closely with Dr. Terry Grant, which is our medical director,
Great.
and Hervey Carnegie Jr., which is our assistant medical director. And both of those doctors and I have had opportunity to sit down and with Brian and Brian Smith, our assistant EMS manager training officer. We've had a chance to sit down and be able to talk about what they would like to see as a vision and a plan, and obviously training and education is something that we can never have enough of, and preparation is key in an emergency, making sure that the providers, and they are, but ensure that the providers are sharp and critical thinking skills and able to quickly identify the problem, initiate treatment, and follow that treatment plan all the way to the hospital so we can transfer care.
That is excellent. Now, one final thing here. What would you suggest when, and it can be when EMS is on their way to an accident? It can be a bit unnerving for someone to be driving along the street and have a siren right behind them.
Understand.
They get very, some people get really nervous at that, become scared, don't know what to do. Some people actually freeze. what would you say to those folks?
If you are driving on the roads and you hear a siren or you see in your rearview mirror an ambulance, the first thing that as a driver or operator of an ambulance that I would like for you to do is to start the slowing down process, not an abrupt stop or a sudden stop, but start the deceleration phase and work your way towards like North Carolina has a move over law.
Right.
You need to be moving as the driver of a vehicle, you need to be moving to the right, and the ambulance, police officer, fire truck, we're going to be going, and our training is to go to the left. So essentially, if we're coming up on a car, our staff has gone through an emergency vehicle driving training. So our staff understands that you don't come up abruptly on someone. You slowly approach an intersection or a car in hopes that the car will go to the right, and our staff's training is that we'll kind of ease to the left.
All right.
Now, lights and sirens are a critical component of the ambulance. But individuals that are driving and operating the ambulance understand that those are requests for the right of the way. It's not a demand, it's not a guarantee. So our staff's been trained to monitor all posted speed limits and drive with due regard to the safety and of our public and the others that we serve. But anyone that is driving and hears the siren, sees the flashing lights, start a deceleration phase and move over towards the right so that the ambulance can clearly pass,
Okay, so
or the
move
fire truck.
to the right.
Yeah, move your vehicle as
Right.
towards the right lane safely.
Yes.
Obviously observing all laws and regulations, but move safely to the right because the ambulance is going to be taking the left path.
Taking to the left. Now
Yes,
that's
sir.
good information.
Yes,
and,
sir.
and I would have to think there's some people that just don't think about that.
Well, and we're answering a tremendous amount of calls here in Wayne County, and each of those activations, based on the severity of the call, require us to use the lights and sirens. We use lights and sirens to the emergency with a higher frequency than we use them to the hospital because we're able to bring so much medicine and stabilization to the patient. It's rare that we run emergency lights and sirens to the hospital. So we only do that when the patient's really, really sick, or their acuity is really high and they need some additional interventions. I think that one thing that, if I have time to share, is that the benefit of having paramedics. If you'd like to talk on that, if we have enough time.
Yes, let's do that.
I am a paramedic, state certified in North Carolina, but I'm a paramedic instructor as well. And I teach at some of the community colleges in the area.
Great.
And one of the things that I think is important for everyone to know is that a paramedic is bringing a lot of medicine, drugs, and capabilities to the patient's side, which I think is very beneficial in an emergency. And if you'll recall back to that show we discussed earlier, Emergency, they did a lot of stabilization and then communicated to the hospital and treated. We have exceeded that tremendously. We have the ability to do heart analysis, which are basically like a doctor does an EKG, where you place the electrodes and run an electrocardiogram of the heart. We have that capability in all of our paramedic ambulances, so we can actually see how the patient's heart's doing in an emergency and be able to address it and move forward. But a paramedic brings the highest level of pre-hospital experience to that patient in that emergency, and we're very fortunate that we have 9 paramedic ambulances in Wayne County that are stationed out, that are giving excellent care to that patient in their time of need. And I'm very proud of the paramedic piece, and all of our staff, EMT, the intermediate, and the paramedic play a vital role in our service.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Yes, sir.
It is very impressive. These are highly trained personnel.
Well, and just to kind of emphasize on that, to become a paramedic is a lengthy process. Essentially, the first step is to become an EMT, an emergency medical technician, and that individual receives about 180 hours of didactic classroom education. And to progress to the next level, to the intermediate level, they receive an additional 260, 280 hours depending upon the course. And they once they test and certify that, they can go to the paramedic level, which is 1,096 additional training hours.
Wow.
So those individuals have been tried and tested and have gone through a very long and enduring process. And an individual that reaches the paramedic level has obviously shown commitment, dedication to the profession, and has obviously earned that title as paramedic.
Let's. I want to switch gears
Yes, sir.
quickly and ask you about Wayne Net, the Wayne Non-Emergency Transport.
That is a very vital service that we offer to the citizens here in Wayne County.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, and Nanette Sutton is the manager and overseer of that program. I work closely with her, and she's got a great staff over there. And that non-emergency transport service is designed to meet the needs of individuals who need stretcher transportation or wheelchair transportation, but do not need an emergency service transport to an emergency room. It may be a loved one who is ill and unable to walk and has medical condition that prevents them from being able to get into a car and go to a doctor's office. So we're sending trained staff on a certified ambulance to their house to aid in the transport to the doctor's office, dialysis center, or wound treatments, or a variety of services. And another critical feature that's really beneficial is the non-emergency transport's ability to take a patient from Wayne Memorial Hospital to another hospital selected by the physicians and keep that care plan going. So you may need to be moved from a hospital in Goldsboro, moved to a hospital in Raleigh, or a hospital in Greenville.
Say
and
Rex or
Wake Med or
Duke
Vidant or
yeah.
Duke
Yeah.
and Wayne Net has done some lengthy transports,
Yeah.
and that non-emergency transport is a critical role because we're able to move that patient, provide care to them, and not impede or utilize an emergency truck. We're able to keep that non-emergency truck staff, and it's a great service.
Yeah.
They do a great job, and they definitely deserve a pat on the back as well.
No question about it.
Yes, sir.
That indeed is so true.
Yes, sir.
Gee whiz, you got a lot going on.
It's very busy. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it's
that's
easy.
okay.
It's really easy to work with people when you enjoy coming to work, and you come to work and have staff that enjoy coming to work. And our job is very rewarding when you see an individual that's in a crisis and you're able to help them. And some of the best times in my career, I've been a paramedic now for 14 years, but some of the best times in my career is when I've been able to hug a loved one, to hug a daughter of a mother that I've done CPR on, or and those are priceless moments that'll never be taken away, and you'll never forget those. And I'm very proud of the fact that my daughter, when she's at daycare and at school, she says my daddy's a paramedic, and that does warm my heart.
I'm sure it does.
There's nothing finer than seeing your little child proud of what you do.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Jeremy, one more final question. I've had several, but this may be the last one, unless I think of another one.
Man, that's fine, sir.
And it's not really a good question, but I've heard people say something about, well, that ambulance is going too fast, or that ambulance is going too slow. What's the speed limit on ambulances?
Well, and as I stated earlier, we are asking for permission with the lights and sirens, and we don't put a defined speed limit on an ambulance, because you can't say you can travel 50 miles an hour on an ambulance because there's speed limits in the city that are much lower than that. Ambulance operators and the staff that we have are trained to operate the ambulance safely. They need to maintain control of it at all times, be able to stop if someone comes out in front of them, or as we discussed earlier, someone may slam on brakes and come to an abrupt stop. And we have to be able to slow and stop that vehicle, and that vehicle's heavy, and it's a greater weight than you're traditionally used to operating. Yeah. But I would just simply say that we don't enforce a speed limit policy with emergency traffic, but we monitor it closely. We take concerns of the citizens. If someone were to report that they saw an ambulance in their mind too slow or their mind too fast, we would take that serious and talk to the crew and ensure that they understood the importance of operating safely. And one of the things that we really emphasize in the training is remain in control of your vehicle at all times. Our technicians don't text on the phone while they're driving. They don't use the cell phone during operation, and that's in policy to protect the county and to protect the technician. So they should be operating those vehicles safely, and that's a great conversation piece. But again, for safety reasons, we don't put a limit on. We tell them to operate with due regard to the safety of the public and to maintain control of your vehicle at all times.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeremy, it is so good to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you, sir.
I think you're going to do a wonderful job.
Well, I've got a wonderful staff, and I appreciate the opportunity to come before you and speak to the citizens of Wayne County and address the kind of put a face with emergency medical services, because we want the citizens to know that we're there if they ever need us, and that we're bringing great skills and competent paramedics and EMTs and intermediates to their scene in emergency, and we hope to bring calm to their chaos and be able to help them in their time of need. And we get to see a lot of people in some very bad times, and I'm proud to say we make a big impact in a lot of people's lives.
Wow. I must say, County Manager George Wood and our county commissioners have shown great wisdom in bringing this man aboard, and I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, sir. Jeremy
Hill, the manager of our emergency medical services, part of the OES here in Wayne County.
Thank you.
We're back on Wayne Goldsboro Television.
Yes, we are.
What you got there?
We've got Wayne County Cornhole Charity Tournaments. We've already had one that happened on October the 25th, but on November the 15th and on December the 13th, we will have another series of our Wayne County Cornhole Tournaments. Let's see, you can go to find out more information, waynecountycornhole.com. This is a board game that you can play with teams. Let's see, there will be registration on each one of these dates, November the 15th and December the 13th from 9 to 11.
Right.
That's check-in, registration. 12 o'clock you will start playing. Let's see, my goodness, there's all kinds of cash prizes, trophies, family events that will be happening in games that day. Come out, you can be a sponsor, you can be a volunteer, they're looking vendors, and you can register online. That's Wayne County Cornhole Charity Tournament.
5 years ago, I'd never heard of cornhole.
I know.
I know.
It is growing by leaps and bounds.
Leaping and bounding all
Yes,
over the place.
it is.
Yes. Now through December 7th, if you are on Medicare and you want to change or adjust or redo your Part D, you have a chance to do that at the Senior Center. Weekdays between 9 a.m. and noon o'clock. You can change your beneficiaries, you can change your cards, change your information at the Senior Center, 9 till noon at the Senior Center, now until December 7th.
There you go.
All right, there you go.
Reminding you, in Wayne County,
Yes.
if you see a problem, you can report a problem right here on your mobile device. If you have a smartphone. If you have a smartphone.
You have a smartphone?
Yes, you do. You can report it right on your phone. This is through 311 GIS system.
Oh, yeah.
The City of Goldsboro and the County of Wayne are using this to manage citizens' concerns. It's an easy-to-use online solution to report concerns that you see here in the community. It's really neat. It's just an app that you download. If you have a smartphone, you know all about apps. But you just use this app. You can, for example, let's say a stop sign had been hit by a car or for some reason was leaning over to the side. You can take a photo of it. You can upload that photo and send it straight to 311 GIS.
Really?
The city or the county, depending on where it is, will get notification. Once you've submitted this, you will be connected and will be notified as things are taking place in the process. Once it's fixed, you'll get an email. You'll know who's fixed it, the date it was fixed. So this is just a neat way for us to work together as a community to report issues and problems we see.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah.
That is great stuff.
311gis.com. You can find out more.
Young man born in Leland, North Carolina, 78 years ago today, by the name of Charlie Daniels.
Charlie Daniels.
Charlie Daniels, CMA award-winning musician, 78 years today. Jane Alexander, the actress, is 75. Dennis Franz of a bunch of stuff, but Hill Street Blues mostly. Not Hill Street Blues, but NYPD. Well, he was on Hill Street Blues for a while, but he went on to NYPD Blue. Many awards he has won. 70 years of age he is. He plays Sipowicz on NYPD Blue. Thelma Hopkins of the group Dawn, Tony Orlando and Dawn.
Oh, yes.
Thelma Hopkins is 66 today, and she is also doing a lot of other TV shows as well. Bruce Jenner.
Oh, yeah.
65. Bill Gates, filthy rich guy, but very smart too. He earned his money. He's he's 59 years today. Mark Derwin, the actor, was Joe Stevens in 24. He's 54 today. Lauren Holly, the actress, is 51. Julia Roberts
Is how old?
47 today.
47.
Joaquin Phoenix is 40, and Lauren Woodland was in The Young and the Restless some years ago. She played Brittany Hodges. But
Okay.
she's been in a lot of other stuff as well. She's 37 years today. There you go. That's birthday.
Just a young girl.
Just a
young
child.
girl. Just a child. Reminding you that the Cliffs of the Noose are offering a trunk or treat family fun night. Of course, Friday, October the 31st from 6:30 until 9. They are offering movie on the lawn, hot dogs, refreshments, many other games. This is all for children ages 12 and under. If you're interested, you can call the state park at 778-6234 to register your car to be a part of the trunk or treat.
And just in case you're not interested, the
Don't register.
Don't register, but the number's the same.
Yes, it is.
Nothing changes. We got to go.
Yes, we do. That's all for today.
So join us again tomorrow at this time for whatever this is. Until then, I'm Wayne Alley.
And I'm Kim Best, and this is what's happening in your community.